Right. Yeah, it's a very good question. Why should we really integrate climate change into the SDGs? Now, if you look at climate action is just one goal of SDGs, right? Um, then, if you look at these climate change conventions like the Paris Agreement and then the Sendai Framework on disaster risk reduction and the SDGs, they all have the same timeline, like from 2016 to 2030. So that means, I mean, these three can be implemented together in they have the same timeline. So I mean, they are coherent, like. And then if you look at how they originated, this climate change convention, then the sustainable development agenda, they all originated at the same place in the Earth Summit in 1992. And so all these have been designed to have to be in compliance, like, right? Now the climate action, we have the protocols, the agreements, some financial mechanisms, and such mechanisms can be utilized to achieve SDGs in the same time, because SDGs don't have such mechanism as yet. But looking at the coherent places, I mean the interlinkages and synergies, we can direct the climate finances to achieve the other SDG objectives. So this is why SDGs and climate action should be really integrated, and they should have they should be implemented together. And also the Sendai Framework for disaster risk reduction, we are disaster prone countries, so in that sense it's really a very big requirement to implement these agendas together.
Thank you. So that's a very good answer.
Thank you. Yes. Now if you look at the climate action, of course, climate action to mitigate climate change, we have to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, right? Greenhouse gas emissions. So where do these greenhouse gas emissions originate? From the industry, from the transport, and so this is where, and the power plants, like the energy generation. These are the ones where the climate change, we are contributing to climate change. So then how can we minimize? So for example, now we can really the renewable energies, introduction of renewable energies is a way of reducing the energy demand from the oil. So this is really a good point, where the SDG 7 and SDG 13, the climate actions, are integrated. So I mean, we are achieving both objectives together, right? And then in the agriculture sector, we are talking about zero hunger, and this is again quality foods, right? Then so if we reduce the what you say the insecticides and the pesticides, the kinds of chemicals that are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions, like the methane. So then so we can achieve the two things together: the food security and food safety, and also the climate change mitigation together. So this is, of course, there are lots of examples. We can say the climate change and SDG, if you implement together, can have multiple benefits, right? So I mean, there are a lot of examples. I just pointed out two. We may not be able to implement everything together, so this is, we have to prioritize certain SDGs. So what are the criteria? I mean, of course, we did that exercise. We considered mainly three factors. One is the applicability, how applicable the SDGs are, into Sri Lanka, for example, and then implementability, how implementable they are, and the transformational impact such SDG targets have on the society and on the economy, and for the whole of society, in fact. And so based on these three factors, we identified 36 SDG targets, and then looking at the interlinkages between these SDG targets, we identified some priority targets out of these 36. You know, the first one that came out was the policy coherence. I mean, increasing the policy coherence between between different policies. So you can see what has happened is, we have different sectoral policies that are working in silos. So finally, the ultimate objective cannot be achieved through that. So this is why the policy coherence has come at the first first SDG target that we have to prioritize. The second one came as the reduction of bribery and corruption. See, I mean, in the developing countries, this is a big problem. The bribery and corruption in the private sector, public sector, everywhere is a big problem. So these were the two biggest SDG targets that came under the prioritizing exercise. So we have, of course, 36 SDG targets already prioritized. So these are the criteria you have to consider really. The interlinkages, so that means the multiplying effect that you can have, so we call the accelerators. I mean, if we can identify the accelerators, that will be a good way to achieve all objectives together, all goals together. So I mean, if you achieve one target, that will help to achieve another target as well. Alright, this is the way that you have to look at when you prioritize some targets, and also the other things, the applicability, implementability, and the transformational impact.